See, like I said, that we are focused on early growth capital in two kinds of companies. So one is companies creating a consumer brand. Second is companies providing an organized service in a segment which is traditionally unorganized. If your work is something that you enjoy, then you're really not looking for work-life balance, right? Because then you're enjoying whatever you're doing, whether you're working or whether you're traveling. You're on a holiday. It's just what you're doing at that point of time. You're doing what you like to do.
So thank you so much, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule for this interview. I am Sanjana Kapoor and I am Senior Manager for Investment Banking and Finance at StartupLanes, and it is an honor to connect with you today. So before we go into the interview and more details about you, I would like you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Sanjana. Thank you for inviting me, and it's an honor for me to be here talking to you. I am Hithendra Ramachandran. I'm co-founder and managing director of Carpediem Capital. Carpediem Capital is an early growth capital fund, private equity fund, investing in consumer and services companies. We are a team of 14 people with 2 offices, one in Bombay and one in Gurgaon. We currently manage 2 private equity funds. First one is fully deployed across 8 portfolio companies. We're currently raising a second fund and also investing out of a second fund.
What differentiates Carpediem Capital from other private equity?
See, like I said, that we are focused on early growth capital in 2 kinds of companies. So one is companies creating a consumer brand. Second is companies providing an organized service in a segment which is traditionally unorganized. So we are largely looking at more traditional brick and mortar kind of businesses, largely, and not the new age disrupting kind of business models. So in the space that we are focused on, the early growth capital providers are very limited. There's private equity funds who invest when the companies are of a different stage, at a different scale, because they want to deploy $40-50 million, for which the companies have to reach a certain scale. We are looking at companies which are in between 40 crores of revenues at the lower end on an annual basis and 200 crores of revenues on the higher end. In those kind of companies, we come in at the first institutional investor, take a significant minority stake. Second largest, the largest investor stake. In most situations, we are equal or just next to shareholding of the entrepreneur himself. So we want to be the second most dominating voice in the company. We certainly don't want to be the number one, because number one voice has to be the entrepreneur's voice. We want to be the second most dominating voice in the company, where we can influence, participate in the growth of the company, influence certain initiatives that we believe that the company should take, and bring about an operational, let's say, transformation that can help the company scale from where it is today. So we have a very operationally participative approach. We spend about anywhere between 2 to 4 days with every company in every month. We participate in most of the review meetings. In fact, what we like to say is that 20% of the revenues of the company incrementally should come from either the initiatives that we help them make or introductions that we make. So that's a statement that we like to make. In addition, we also, we believe that and I think that's true for everyone, is that human resources is a key requirement for companies when they're growing up. And when we come in as an early investor, usually private equity funded companies are seen very positively. So we help them work on their org structure. We help with policies that enables them to hire better talent from the market. And we also work with them in identifying those talent, interviewing them, and creating a structure for compensation, as well as in the organization that attracts good talent to come into the companies.
So my next question is that since you told that Carpediem focuses on SMEs, but within them, which sectors you are focused and why?
So like we said earlier, we are focused on 2 themes, investing in 2 themes. Companies who are creating a consumer brand, And second is companies providing an organized service in a segment which is traditionally unorganized. Now, why are we looking at this? Because all of us understand that the Indian demographics is the biggest opportunity that we're sitting on. The way we look at the opportunity is that India has added 150 million people to its workforce in the last decade. India is adding another 220, 230 million people to its workforce in the current decade and the next decade put together. Now, an addition of about 350, 400 million people in 3 decades is a phenomenon that it never happened anywhere in the world, including China. So that's a big opportunity. And if you look at where so many people are earning new earning members, where are they going to spend on? Because food, shelter, housing, all of those things have been largely taken care of. So most of this money is actually going to come into discretionary spends. So because of which a lot of new categories are going to get created in India, which India has not seen in the past, which are large globally, but those categories are just emerging in India. And let me give you a few examples of that. If you take pet services, it's a very large opportunity globally. There's a company in the US called PetSmart. It was acquired by a private equity fund called BC Partners for $8.4 billion. So it's such a large organization. There's another company called Pets at Home in the UK, which is owned by KKR. It's a £2 billion company. So the pet services is a large opportunity globally. But in India, if you look at the pet services, it's just an emerging opportunity today. So today you will see a lot of pet service companies which pet supply, pet products and pet services getting funded. That's because as India. The second thing that what's happening in Indian demographic is that as we are also number of working population increasing, we are also joint families are becoming nuclear families. People are shifting from their hometowns, moving to different towns for work. So we don't have the concept of joint families anymore. The families are getting smaller and smaller. And increasingly that parents are being told that if you want to give your child a holistic growing up experience, then you need to have a pet, because they learn to share, care, and also let's say today mostly after 12th standard, the children go out for the college, go and for work. So parents are getting lonely at a fairly young age for them. They have the disposable income, so they start buying a pet, and so that there's a companion at home. So there's something to look forward to come back home for. So today, if you look at if you need to go, there are things like pet spa. There are micro bubble baths for pets. So it's a huge opportunity that we're sitting on. It's not so. We are looking at leaders in these segments. So we're not looking at, let's say, a 10th company in a given segment. We're looking at an emerging segment. In that segment, the company that we're looking at should be a leader, number 1 or number 2 player. Another example that I can give you is women's shoes. If I ask you that, which is the largest women's shoe brand in India, I don't know what the answer would be. Obviously people know of Metro, people know of Bata. So Metro is a company which now is listed, so a lot of people know about it. But it's largely focused on men's shoes. Also has women's shoes. But globally, women's shoes is an independent business, because women like to have their own designs, styles, have their own brands. India has not yet seen a large women's shoe brand. The reason is, when in joint family system, very few women used to work. So most of the money that they used to get is a husband giving money to them, which mostly they spend on the homes of their children. They don't spend on themselves. Today, as families are becoming nuclear, the women are working. They're earning. They have money to spend. The first thing that they spend is on clothes and shoes. So the thing with women's shoe as a category is going to explode in India. And if you look at the women's shoe category, there is not a single company which is more than, let's say, 200 crores of revenues. So even if you take the largest women's shoe brand, that could be an opportunity for us. So those are just a few examples of let's say consumer brands and organized services. Let's say if you take organized service, so my own background is I used to be in the HR services industry. Now contract staffing has always been a very large opportunity in India. But globally, contract staffing is a very organized business, but in India it was a very unorganized business. Globally, it's called temp staffing. But in early 2000s, a few companies started doing this in a more organized way. Today, temp staffing companies are very large organizations. Quess Corp, which is where I used to be earlier, today employs 450,000 people, which is India's second largest private sector employer. TeamLease, which is another listed company, has more than 2 lakh people. So, that's an example of a service over a period of time moving from unorganized to organized. So these are some of the kind of opportunities that we look at. If you want to look at that into sectors, I spoke about 2 themes, but if you want to, let's be specific and look at, okay, what are the sectors? We look at, one is a traditional consumer sector, which is food, agri, retail. Second is we look at healthcare, largely consumer-focused healthcare. Third is financial services. And fourth is managed services. In the first 3, we largely focused on consumer-focused businesses. In the managed services, we look at both consumer-focused services as well as business-focused services. For us, education, we classify this as services business. We look at education. We don't look at the ed tech, So we generally don't like adding tech into something which is already, existing. Like, for example, consumer tech, ed tech, fintech. We think adding tech to an existing business segment is giving a license to make losses for a long period of time, which is something that we don't like. We don't understand. We prefer investing in companies which are profitable. So our companies certainly use tech. Tech is an enabler for us, but we don't invest in pure tech companies. That's a question.
So my next question is that as you are in the process of raising capital for Fund 2, what kind of interest you are seeing from the international investors, or are you restricted to domestic investors?
So, you're right that we are raising capital for our Fund 2. We already had a first close, so we're also investing out of Fund 2. Our target is 700 crores. We already raised 60% of that. This has been raised from a domestic institution because India has got a sovereign pool of capital to invest into MSMEs. It's called SRI Fund, Self-Reliant India Fund. We are one of the first recipients from that fund. That's an institution that we have. Apart from that, we raised largely from HNIs and family offices. 30% of the HNIs and family offices are from offshore. So that's where we are right now. In interest from international institutions, we've been having discussions with many international institutions. One challenge that people see in us, they like our strategy, they like our Fund 1 performance, we have the top tier performance, they like the team. But one big challenge they have is they all, international investors want to invest a minimum of $15 to $20 million. They can't be more than 10% of the fund. At 700 crores, we are roughly, let's say, like $92 million fund. So, it's difficult for them to come into a fund, with their minimum commitment threshold. So that's one which, however, we are having some conversations with a few family offices and DFIs, which are the slightly advanced stages.
Okay.
But there's certainly a lot of interest, I would say, into investing into India, especially in the consumer segments. I think that's lately, over the last, let's say, 9 to 12 months, especially because a lot of funds focused on China are moving focus away from China and looking at other markets. And India is one of the key markets of focus.
Okay, thank you for answering that question. So our audience would like to know that how can family offices and HNIs are interested in investing SMAs and take a route via private equity?
See, a lot of our investors, like I said, are HNIs and family offices. What we have is a very active co-investment policy. So what we tell our investors is that invest with us. And we actively keep looking at opportunities. We are not a large fund. Our first fund was 204 crores. Along with our first fund, we have done co-investment of a fund of 200 crores. We are in another co-investment of 100 crores. And so what we do is whenever we're looking at opportunities, we show those opportunities to our LPs. and selectively whatever opportunity they like, is of interest to them, they can co-invest along with us. That is the reason why a lot of family offices and HNIs have participated along with us. So I think if you ask me that, what are the way for family offices to participate, in the space, is to partner with a fund manager like us, invest in the fund and co-invest along with the fund.
Okay. Thank you so much for answering it. So till now we've been knowing and getting into details about the private equity and HNIs and everything. So now let's come towards the questions about you and your journey. So I would like to ask you, do you believe that there is some sort of formula or a pattern to become a successful entrepreneur?
I think if you ask me a question like that, I don't think there's a formula to become an entrepreneur. But I think, if I have to look back at my journey and say, okay, fine, what are the things that was essential in this journey? I would say, I think, one is focus. Extremely focused to, with what you want to achieve, because it's a very difficult journey. And, and all along, like I said, our focus, our investment thesis is to invest in traditional companies. And the question that we kept being asked is that, why are you not looking at tech? Like you asked the question, saying, do you look at, consumer tech, fintech, tech businesses, because that's a flavor of business, and but we don't know those things. So people keep asking, why are you not looking at that? It's very difficult. It's very easy to get lured. It's very difficult to stay focused on what is your objective, what is the space that you're going to create, you want to create for yourself. So I think the focus is very important. Second is, I think, perseverance, right? Because it's an entrepreneur's journey. It's a tough one. Thankfully, mine is not a lonely journey, because I have two co-founders in the business. So it's a team effort. But I think we need to keep it. I think the results that we want to achieve is not easy to come. So I think we have to be at it, because we keep telling ourselves that. This is what we tell our companies also, because keep putting the effort. One day, I think the results are going to happen, and that day when the results are going to happen, you have to be there. If you're not there, then you lose out. I think the ability to keep doing it and be there, be at it, is very important. If you're an entrepreneur. Third thing is, I think it's very important to be grounded. And I think an early success can be very harming sometimes. So it's important to be grounded. It's important to stay to your roots, and to know that success, failures are all part of the journey. If there's an up, there's a down, and vice versa. So what is important is building relationships in this journey. And fourth thing is consistency. I think it's very important, and it's very related to the first point I said. It's very, very, very important to be consistent. Let's say over the years, that obviously you need to evolve, your strategy evolves. Consistent with, the objective is very critical. I keep getting asked this question that exists. When is the right time to become an entrepreneur? The only thing that I can say is there is no better time to become an entrepreneur. The time, if you ask me, is right now. And you want to become an entrepreneur, do it now. Don't delay it. The earlier, the better, because your risk-taking abilities, your ability to manage diversities and challenges are much better when you are younger. So the earlier that you are able to think through, and there's no right age for it. I know entrepreneurs who have started businesses after having retired from their regular work life. So and they've been extremely successful. And we have back entrepreneurs who have started business in their early 20s, and they've also been successful. So there is no right age or right time. To me, the right time to become an entrepreneur is when you want to become an entrepreneur. When you start thinking that you want to become an entrepreneur. That's it. The right time is now. Second, I think it's a journey of discovery. It's a journey. It's very exciting. It's very at the same time it's very challenging. And like I said earlier, I think what is important is every entrepreneur. Some entrepreneurs find success early. Some find it later. But when success comes to you, you have to be there. The easiest thing to do is to give up. The most difficult thing to do is to stay put. And stay put and just do what you feel is right. So I think be there when the success comes for you.
how do you maintain work-life balance?
It's very simple because I don't look at work to be work per se, right? I've always been, even when I was working, there was I always used to take my holidays whenever I want. But even on weekends, if there's work, I would work. I never had issues working on Saturday or on Sunday. I think what is important is if your work is something that you enjoy, then you're really not looking for work-life balance, right? Because then you're enjoying whatever you're doing, whether you're working or whether you're traveling. You're on a holiday. It's just what you're doing at that point of time. You're doing what you like to do. So I think what I would say is best is that you convert your passion to work. So whatever you're passionate about, whatever you like to do is what you should work on. Make that your work, so that you don't have to really worry about when am I going to get out of office, or when am I going to take my next holiday. So I think every day is fun, whether you're at work or whether you're actually holidaying.
Okay. So any particular quote you follow?
Seize the opportunity. And that's what Carpediem means. Seize the moment. So when we always believe that, right? And that's why we named our fund as Carpediem Capital. So we believe that, which is exactly what I said earlier also, that there's no, the time is now. This is that.
Great. So my last question, that any feedback about StartupLanes? What do you think about StartupLanes?
It's good actually. I think it's whatever little I know, and not that I know much. Whatever little I know, that you're able to give a lot of knowledge and information. Rather than making it an interesting, let's say, information sharing knowledge to people, and that obviously I think whatever I've seen is get to know different perspectives, and you learn from that. You're able to get those perspectives, and lets you know what's happening, how people are thinking, how business are getting built. I think that's what I understand.
Thank you so much for connecting with us, sir, and taking out time from your busy schedule for this interview. And I'm sure there are many investors, many youngsters, many job seekers who are going to watch this interview, and definitely they will reach out to you. So thank you so much for your time again, and we wish you all the very best for your journey ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanjana. Thank you for having me. And whoever is seeing this, wish you the best. And thank you for listening to me.